Hello, hello. How are you? Happy Wednesday to you. How was your holiday break? Did you get to go away, chill out with family, do some introspective work over this spiritual holiday? Well, whatever you've been doing, I hope that you are in good spirits now. I am back in the south of France and super excited to connect with you today. So welcome back to Liberate Your Authentic Self with me, Dr. Andrea Pennington. I like to go live on these videos to provide ongoing insight and inspiration for the journey in real self-love and for you to actually liberate your authentic self. So it's lovely to see you. What up, Trevor? Lovely to see you here as well. So I wonder what you guys think of what I typed in as our description today. This is going to be a juicy conversation about forgiveness and how it might actually bite you in the booty. Sounds crazy, right? At least coming from me. What's up, Shelley? It's so good to see you as well. Oh, well, I look radiant. Well, that's good. It actually is raining here in the south of France. But yes, France does serve me well. This is, as you know, one of my favorite places on the planet to be. So for those of you who have been in a situation where someone has done you wrong, and who hasn't, right? If you have actually ever been the victim of someone's ugliness or abuse, I just want you to, I don't know, open up your mind for today's conversation, because it's going to be a little bit different than anything you've ever heard me share before. Mainly because there really is some controversy. I know it may have sounded like some clickbait, but it's actually something I wanted to discuss with you, because this is a spiritual tribe. Most of us are actively engaged in trying to be our best self, right? This is what we say our world is all about. And yet, when you're faced with looking at, I want to say, quote unquote, reality, it can be a little bit disheartening. Disheartening in the context of sometimes people are just mean. Sometimes people are just downright, for lack of a better word, evil. I don't like to ever call it like that because I don't know. I guess I have my own judgments about, when you're on the spiritual path, you shouldn't be calling people evil or what have you. But the reality is sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. And Trevor, I see you say you're going to try this game later. So let's dig into this. And hey, Maureen, it's good to have you here as well. Little miss, I have missed you a lot and loved seeing that beautiful photograph of little Mia mixing it up. I bet that's going to be a little like mommy, like daughter, like mommy, whatever the order of that is. All right, so let's get into this conversation because I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Hello, Jacqueline. I'm so glad that you're with us as well. Yes, here I am. I think I should be on the right page, on the Dr. Andrea page. All right, so let me give you the context. All right, so my daughter, who is almost 12 years old now, she kept bugging me about wanting to play this. She called it a philosophical game. And I was like, we've been traveling, multiple continents, time zones, flights, all this sort of stuff. So I was a little bit tired and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I don't really have my philosophical brain on. But when we finally landed in France and things were kind of calm, we were sharing a meal and she brought up this game again. And I said, okay, fine, show it to me. Let's dig in. I'm super curious. And it's called the game, The Evolution of Trust. And what this is it involves game theory. So how many of you have ever heard of game theory? Anyone? Well, game theory is I think for the most part, most people know of it in like economics because it involves mathematical projections. So basically, game theory is you look at a situation which typically has certain rules, certain assumptions, and you can mathematically predict how two players or a group of players or society will actually interact with each other. So Jackie, you've never heard of it. Okay. So that's what it is. So game theory uses this mathematical model to see what would happen. All right. Glad to have you here, Wenda. We are going to explore what happens when our tendency to be kind and loving and forgiving could backfire. Now, I mentioned the context is my daughter shared this game with me. We're sitting down, I'm looking at this evolution of trust. And what was interesting, and I'll actually show it to you, was, well, let me just show it to you right now so that you can get a sense of it. So when you go to this website, which is ncase.me/trust, you'll see that you basically, it takes about 30 minutes. I'm not going to go through the whole game with you. I don't have the time for that today. But here's the context for the game. So he says, during World War I, peace broke out. It was Christmas 1914 on the Western Front, and despite strict orders not to chillax with the enemy, British and German soldiers left their trenches, crossed no man's land, and gathered to bury their dead, exchange gifts, and play games. Okay. Meanwhile, back here in 2018, the West has been at peace for decades. And wow, we suck at trust. Surveys show that over the past 40 years, fewer and fewer people say they trust each other. So here's the puzzle. Why is it that even in peacetime, friends become enemies? And why, even in wartime, do enemies become friends? So it's this idea of looking at game theory that will help explain our current epidemic of distrust. Okay, so then you click and you go through this, and basically you have one choice. So imagine that you have this little machine in front of you, and if you put a coin into the machine, the other player gets 3 coins, and vice versa. So you can both choose to cooperate, where you put in a coin and the other player gets back 3, or you could cheat. You could not put in a coin at all. So here's what happens. So let's say we cooperate. Our little person goes in, and after you decide to cooperate, if the other player cheats, you actually don't win. So they gain the 3 coins and you don't. But if you both cheat, neither of you gain or lose. So in other words, what they're saying is, statistically speaking, just statistically speaking, if you cheat, actually cheating will end up in your favor. So if you continue to go through this game, you'll end up getting to a point where they start to put all these different types of players. So the different types of players, they actually have different names for them. Let's see. There we go. So you can get to these different players. One is called a copycat. So the copycat starts out by putting a coin in. He's cooperative. And then it will simply repeat whatever you did in the last round. There's a little nicey nice character, which when I was explaining this to my daughter, I was like, well, that would be me. Like, I want love and happiness for everyone. I want everyone to get the coins. So I'd want to cooperate. Then there is the character that always cheats. There's this guy who they kind of make kind of country called the grudger, who will start with cooperate and will keep cooperating until you cheat. So if you cheat, it will always cheat after, meaning it's going to hold a grudge. And then this last character is called the detective. So he kind of starts off with cooperate, cheat, cooperate, cooperate. But if you ever retaliate by cheating, meaning you don't drop in the coin, then it's going to play like an always cheater. Okay? So that's just the context. Don't worry if you don't have all those little characters memorized. Because here's what turns out. Through this mathematical simulation, which again is all based in statistical models, whether you decide to be the grudger, who's like, if you cheat on me, I'm going to cheat back, and then they just get at you, it will continue to run through all of these scenarios. And you find out that the one that wins is often the cheater. Sometimes it's the copycat, meaning sometimes I'll cheat. If you cheat, I'll cooperate if you cooperate. But here's where it got really sticky for us. We were looking at real life, okay? So that is a statistical game model that's all based on these predictive, very easy to figure out if you're a mathematician stuff. But what happens in the real world? One of the things that they get into as you go further and further down the game is you can start to adjust for something called miscommunication. Now, we live in a very technical world, right? So I might send you a text, right? And I admit sometimes I'm in the car or I'm doing something in the kitchen and I send a text and then autocorrect messes it up. So like say you sent me something like, hey, Andrea, I'm really thinking about publishing a book. What do you think? And maybe I type back, cool. And then I go back to cooking dinner. But what if my thumb slipped and it hit the F instead of the C? I mean, they are real close on the keyboard and it's like, fool. Okay, this is a really silly example because most of you know I would never say that. But what if you on the receiving end were like, dang, she thinks that's a fool idea. Well, I'm going to just unsubscribe from her stuff. I'm going to stop watching her. I know tell me that's really nothing that would ever happen in our real lives. Okay, but back to the game. In this game, you can adjust how much miscommunication or mistakes could be made. Because if you're the type of person who is willing to forgive maybe the first mistake, like, I don't know, most of the people I know, we would say, oh, dang, she said fool. Oh, maybe she's just kidding with me. Or, oh, maybe it was autocorrect. Or, I wonder what she means. Like, whatever. You might decide to forgive them, to overlook it, maybe to downplay the significance, even if you thought it was true, or to come up with some other explanation for why that happened. So in this game of this evolution of trust, the more chance there is for mistakes, guess what? Through that statistical game theory thing, it creates even more drama. Because if there are more mistakes made, then eventually, like the mean person, the all cheat or the grudger will be like, oh, well, you didn't drop in a coin for me. I'm not going to drop in a coin for you. And it gets really, really ugly. And that's where I think the tie-in to reality is today and what I really want to hear from you about. So here's the concept. If we look today from just the pure media, which I never do, but let's imagine that you just dropped onto this planet for the first time and you turned on CNN or something and you were watching the news, it would be very easy to assume that very mean or aggressive or greedy or vengeful people are in power. And so if you think that your entire population is really mean or negative or out to get you or you just got to get yours, it might influence your opinions. It might influence whether you give someone the benefit of the doubt or not. So if you feel like this whole world is just full of untrustworthy people, you might be tempted to do sort of the mean thing as opposed to the nice thing. Now, that could be the reality of things. And for some of us, it actually is. People are feeling the heat emotionally, physically, spiritually, due to the state of affairs, whether that's the political game, the financial game, the racial game. Like we're seeing a lot of isms out there, racism and sexism, and it goes on and on. And so then the question becomes, if we look back on that statistical game, if you were, the nice character, which always cooperates, then you're going to end up losing. You will. So let's see. Margareta, hello, lovely. You said in these types of situations, you ask for clarity. What did you mean by that in order to avoid unnecessary drama? Well, that's perfect. That's called being mindful, right? Being tuned in to the present moment, asking for clarity instead of jumping to conclusions and going down a rabbit hole of negativity. But again, back in the game, if you were to, for example, it allows you to place a bet. Now, if you were like you and me, Margareta, we're going to be the cooperative one. But remember that in this game, we're going to bet that the always cooperate person wins. So if we placed our bet and say, oh, let's do the kind, loving, spiritual person. And then you go through a match. Well, guess what? On this first match, we've got copycat versus always cheat. And then copycat versus always cooperate. And then boom, total scores, 20 versus 20. But we start moving forward. Then we go copycat versus the grudger. Remember, the grudger is the one that's like, if you cheat me, I'm going to cheat you. Then copycat versus detective. Then always cheat versus always cooperate. So once we get into this scenario, the always cheat person beats always cooperate. They end up with only 10 wins to the always cheats 30. And if you look at the always cheat versus the grudger, they're up only by 3 and that person's down by 1. So you can keep going through all of these scenarios, and it's really quite interesting because as you let the mathematics play out, then you can start to run this simulation. So let's say here's a world that's all of these cooperative little pink guys, right? And there's only one cheater and only one copycat. Remember, the copycat just does what you did on the last round. So if we start, and it's running for 10 rounds where they have a decision to either put in a coin or cheat. Well, guess who wins? The copycat. The copycat wins. Then, if we move forward, it's like the copycat has a fatal weakness. And if you had 2 copycats playing against each other where they both put in the coin and then they both get out money, it's great. And as they say, you can sing Kumbaya until the end of time. But what if this guy, did you see that? I don't know if you saw that. He just fell over on the way to the coin machine. He didn't actually cheat. He just accidentally fell and he didn't put in the coin. So that's what we consider a mistake or a miscommunication or a misinterpretation. Well, this guy over here was like, oh, I'm the copycat and now you've cheated me. So he's going to cheat next time, which means then being a copycat, he had to retaliate. And then they both end up being losers. And it keeps going on when you keep dealing with all of these mistakes. So again, that's like a mathematical simulation, and it's probably not what we experience in real life, except that unless you're like Margareta, who has the mindset to actually intervene and say, oh, wait, did you mean to do that? Can I get some clarity here? What you find out is that by being the nasty, snotty person, you actually get a leg up. And just statistically speaking, you would be harmed. Now, okay. So Shelley, here's the question. This is where it all turns. She asks, is it really losing in life if you choose to take the high road? So that is my question that I want to pose to all of you here. So if you take the high road, if you choose to be that kind person, that overlooks people's shortcomings, that gives them the benefit of the doubt. You have a high level of tolerance and patience, and you practice forgiveness. Is it really losing in life? I want to hear from you guys. So please type in the answer to that question. And in the meantime, I'm going to look at what Jacqueline has to say. You say, it happened to you in business. It's such a long story, which you won't go into, but you walked away several times. You lost your business. However, this person still followed your page and made the utmost horrific lies up about you. And you tried to call the police due to threats. And still to this day, it's obvious she still stalks your page. What am I going to do? Still walk away and ignore her. It's been 18 months now. I'm hoping one day she will get bored and realize that I wish her well. So there it is. She's taken the high road. Thank you for sharing that, Jacqueline. So I want to hear from everyone else out there. Is it losing in life, even though statistically speaking, just like what Jacqueline experienced and many of us have, you try to be the kind person. You don't publish anything mean or snotty about people out there, and yet they come back continuing in their own drama and hatred and whatever. So Trevor says, I just be nice and cooperate. It's so much easier. If it looks like I lose, I don't think I lose. Lessons will be learned on both sides. Just remember to enjoy life and be happy. So lessons learned on both sides sounds a lot like karma, which is where, I want to go. I want to get into the spiritual side of it. So yes, Margareta, you say absolutely not. It is not losing in life for you to take the high road. And Jacqueline says, you think for me, after trying to gain clarity, overlooking and giving so much despite it all. So yes, the high road worked and you wish her well. Wish her well. All right, so let's get into this because this next level of this conversation involves forgiveness. Because whether you look at the mathematical, statistical thing, or you look at what's actually going on today, seeing that the people who are in control of the financial system or the food system, or even to some extent the education system around the world, the political systems. If you see these people who they're not playing fair. They're not playing by that cute little pink hat person who's always cooperating. And then if we choose to cheat like them, what does that do to us? To Trevor's point that there will be lessons learned on both sides. Karma is the law of action and reaction. So if we cheat just to retaliate or get revenge or whatever, or think we're going to get ahead, that is a somewhat weighty action to take that will reflect back on us someday or some way or another. And if we consider that karma aside, there are two practical pieces that I want to bring up here. One is very, very practical in the here and now. And the second is a little more prophetic. So let's get practical first and foremost. To Jacqueline's point, taking the high road is something that we may choose to do based on our own values. If it's part of our value system to honor people and to give them respect, even if we feel like they're going in a direction we don't agree with, if we feel that our true virtues and values are on honesty or integrity, fairness, and equality, then choosing to operate by our own value system will create peace. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've been mean to someone and it's come back and you just felt icky, even if you got away with it. For example, I remember, this is really a silly example, but I remember being on the highway and I was really in a hurry. We don't have super bad traffic here on the Riviera, but I happened to be leaving Nice going to Siena School at 5, or a little bit before 5. And unfortunately, I was running late. And so, I'm still driving carefully, but I could see that someone was trying to to overtake me. And I'm like, dude, just get behind me. I need to just get where I'm going. And I kind of sped up so that this person couldn't get in. Okay, it's not the nicest thing. It's also not the most evil thing. But what was interesting was when the person ended up going around me on the other side, they were trying to indicate to me that I think the gas thingy was open or something was going on with my car. So here I had mistakenly thought this guy was trying to be aggressive and get in front of me when they were actually trying to do me a favor. And I just got that feeling of, Andrea, really, you're such an idiot. Like the aggressive energy. Now, I didn't do anything to harm the person. I didn't curse at him. I didn't flip him the bird or anything. But I still felt that energy of, dang, Andrea, why would you assume the worst when they were actually trying to do you a favor? Now, I know that that's a really silly example, but it brings up this aspect of your own energy and your well-being. If you live in alignment with your values and your virtues, you will feel harmony, even when other people are stank and do mean things. You may still feel bad that they've hurt you, but at least you will have that sense of peace, knowing that you are in alignment with who you say you are and what you value most in life. And conversely, when you're out of alignment with your values, it feels bad. It feels bad because at our core, as spiritual beings, we actually want to be that always cooperative person at our core because we know that we live in an abundant universe. There is enough for everyone. So on the practical side of things, for your own peace of mind, I wonder if you would believe that forgive, turn the other cheek. I'm not saying you got to hang out with peeps, let them go. But holding on to that grudge and holding on to that negative energy, it doesn't hurt them. It's like, the spiritual saying that when we hold a grudge or a desire for vengeance, it's like drinking poison, hoping that that other person is going to die. It's not. Drinking that poison of revenge or vengefulness or that grudge, it only hurts us. So I'm going to lead us through a forgiveness meditation in just a few minutes so that we can, if there is someone you need to forgive for your own sake, not for them. And remember, this is not about excusing bad behavior because people do some really stank, nasty, awful things. But it's for our own peace of mind. And then we can talk about the energetic shifts that brings up. But y'all have been chatting away, so I have got to get back over here and see what you've had to say. So the lovely Shelley Thomas says, you experience this with someone close to you who isn't evil, but doesn't have the capacity or character to be the type of person I thought she was. I have chosen to forgive for my own well-being, but I've established boundaries for my own protection. Yep. We can't, I love that you bring this up, Shelley. We can't expect other people to live by our values. We all have our own value system. And yeah, you, Shelley, I know that you also kind of see the good in people. So you thought that she was of a certain type or character, but I think she demonstrated otherwise. So I get it. The boundaries thing is so crucial. And one of our real self-love leaders, Dr. Gail Friend, said you recently had a falling out with a friend. She took the mean-spirited road. And your response was, I'm wishing you love and peace. She continued to attack and you kept repeating the same response to her. It hurt, but you stayed true to your forgiveness and you truly found peace. Beautiful. Yeah, I know that hurt. And I know you know. Oh, it's wonderful to see Sherry. You're tuning in. Lovely to see you. So Jacqueline says, Margareta, I often think back if I could ever have done it differently. So your dad just passed away and your sister was in critical condition, which taught you that nothing in life matters and peace was a better option. Yeah, so you often wonder what you had done if you had been, if not been in such a vulnerable position. I could never be nasty to anyone. I guess I still would have walked away. Yeah, it's tough, right? So as humans, we do have the capacity for being mean and being vengeful. And yet, many of us choose to take the high road. Anthony says, consider if Nelson Mandela had chosen to inflict retribution upon his former captors in South Africa. The situation would have not gotten better. Yeah, awesome. So there you go. It's share your values and respect, and the other person will feel it. I smile, they smile. Well, I hope they feel it. But I invite us all to explore this because of, okay, so there's these two things. Remember I told you there are two aspects I wanted to explore. One was the aspect of our immediate needs, our own sense of well-being. I've had those experiences where I was so full of rage and disgust and disbelief and even almost bordering on hatred when someone did me wrong. But carrying that energy, for me, it disrupted my sleep. It made me snappy. It made me aggressive, caused muscle tension. And I didn't even have to sit with it long before I decided, I'm going to let this go. I am not going to hold on to this poison because I need it for my well-being. So that's opportunity number one for you to consider. Should I just go ahead and forgive? Doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you are going to excuse their bad behavior or allow their bad behavior to continue, because I hope that you will not. But it's about getting the peace of mind that you need so that you can move forward in life. Now, aspect number two, and this is where it gets a little prophetical. All right. So there are others. I recently had just a beautiful, beautiful conversation with Sister Gita. And many of you have seen video of me when I was at the Meditation Museum with Sister Jenna. She wrote the foreword to Time to Rise. And her mother, Sister Gita from the Brahma Kumaris, she shared with me one day on the phone. I was kind of in a sense of despair over all the negativity around. And she said, there is a golden age coming. And different spiritual traditions have talked about this new age that is coming, whether you want to call it the return of, a Messiah, a golden age, it doesn't matter. There are a variety of different prophecies that suggest that all of this negativity we see right now, all of this bubbling and broiling of hate and anger and greed and grasping and clinging, the reason it's getting to this high level is possibly because those old paradigms are crumbling. And of course, the people in power are not going to just give up and walk away easily. They are trying even more to hold on to their strongholds. And as they do, it just seems like they're winning because they are this dominant, loud voice. But there are many spiritual traditions that say there is a coming golden age, if you will. And here was the advice to me. It was, Andrea, continue to embrace and embody your own virtues of peace, of purity, and love. Because when we take the high road, when all of these world systems crumble, and they will, I believe they will. There are many people even smarter than me who believe they will. That these evil-looking, mean, grudge, vengeful, greedy systems cannot last. There is this awakening happening on the planet. There will be new financial systems. There will be a redistribution of wealth. And I look forward to taking part in that and really helping people thrive by living the golden rule, which is doing unto others as you would have done unto you. So if you believe that maybe, just maybe, there is a better time a-coming, then we have to stand firm in our values and virtues of love and peace and kindness and forgiveness and tolerance and patience. Because when all of that crumbly stuff is gone, who will be left standing? Those of us that have stood for truth and for light and for love. So I hope that resonates with some of you. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Margareta, she says, you had someone steal your business name and you wished her luck and love. There's space for everyone. In the end, she's out of business. Yep, that's what it comes down to. I'm glad that you were able to wish her well. I know how that feels, honey. I don't even want to tell you. And Ashara Keys says, your childhood best friend does some rude things sometimes. And when you forgive and let go, and then the similar disrespect happens again, what do? You forgave again, but it's hard to continue the same relationship. You know where you stand now, so you deal accordingly to respect yourself. But what if you love the person? Well, what if? You have to, I think, come back to yourself and say, again, where are my boundaries? What do I stand for? I can stand for love and peace and tolerance and still remove a person from my inner circle. Even if I love them, if their behavior is harmful to them, harmful to me, harmful to those close to me, then I have to stand my ground. Or I choose to stand my ground. Because ultimately, what has recently become really apparent to me, just to keep it super practical, is I know that as a single parent, if I'm not well, then it's very hard for me to parent and hard for me to take care of my kid, let alone the other people that I serve and work with. And it happened recently. I was sick back in February. And then with a bunch of, traveling things and family things, I found myself flat out on my butt. And you know what? People were still nice. They were sending well wishes, which helped me immensely. But as a solopreneur and a single mom, if I didn't get well, who was going to take care of my kid? And so I had to really look within and make some really tough decisions that I'm still, reeling and dealing with today, to cut out certain activities that were draining my time, my energy, my financial resources, and some of the relationships. Because what I noticed was when I was down on my butt, when I was sick with the flu, I had to cancel a few interviews. I had to cancel appearances. Things just, that's what happens. And most everyone was so gracious. They were like, oh, what can we do to help? We're sending light and love. We're sending healing. And there were 2 people, only 2, thank God, who were not nice, who were not forgiving, who were not tolerant. And my reflexive action is, whoa, I usually put myself in their shoes to think, okay, who peed in their cornflakes? What's going on in their world that's making them so mean or evil or vengeful or unforgiving? And it reminds me to always look at their perspective and the times that I may have been that way, what motivated me to be short with people or unforgiving with people. So I tend to try to look at it from that perspective. But when that energy kept going, I said, okay, I'm staying my ground. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm doing the compassionate thing. But their continued behavior was continuing to hurt me. And then, of course, that puts everyone around me at risk because of all the people that I am supporting and caring. And so I say that if you really love them, then you need to let them know and or pray for them. I don't know how many people in this community believe that prayer, meditation, sending out positive waves that other people will be helped or benefited, it actually works. And in fact, that's one of the things that Sister Jenna from the Meditation Museums, she was also saying the same thing, that right now, more than anything, we just have to wish that others will be benefited, that others will eventually arrive at their own awakening. But that don't mean you got to have them in your circle. Until they get to that point of healing or awakening, you might just need to back off with some of these folks, So Margareta says that you had a huge fight with a good friend and it taught you many things. You have sent so much love and light to her in that period, and now you're back together. See? Then you don't have to go and apologize for being evil, right? Yeah, and so Jacqueline says you love that, though, and believe that we are heading there. Mother Teresa, her prayer is a favorite. Do good anyway. Yes, and that's what we have to do. It was never about you and them, but between you and God. Mm-hmm. I love that. And that you're saying to Ashara that maybe when the time is right, you'll meet again on another level. And that could be it. So, hi, Caroline. Glad to see you here. Forgiveness, she says, is about letting go of expectations. Yeah, well, that's a big one, right? Like we expect people to, whether be kind or be nice or whatever. Yeah, letting go. All right, so I want to get into a little bit of this meditation. Trevor says you believe balance always needs to be achieved. But if there's too much negative on one side, the positive will definitely show up. And praying for the happiness of others will work. Yes. And Margareta says setting boundaries with love. So if we keep all of these things in mind, these boundaries, holding on to our personal virtues and values, I think that that's when taking the high road will actually be good for us. And I wanted to share with you a little bit of an excerpt from my book, I Love You Me, because I include in this book several meditations, and one of them is the forgiveness meditation. Because, I mean, the reality is we will have a hard time being fully present and appreciative of the life that we actually have if we're holding on to a grudge for some silly comment or even a serious assault that we've endured. And so whether it was a mistake that we made or it was a misunderstanding from the past that still hasn't been resolved, we all know that carrying around anger or secretly wishing for vengeance, that's going to keep our heart closed, and it's going to prevent us from feeling the fullness of joy in our lives. And so to give ourselves and to give other people a break so that we can move on, I highly do recommend that you practice some form of forgiveness meditation. My favorite one, and the one that I include in the book, I Love You Me, is adapted by a meditation taught by Jack Kornfield. He is a Buddhist teacher, a meditation master, and an author of a book called Meditation for Beginners. And in this practice, you're asked to bring to mind a situation where we have been hurt, but you also bring to mind times when you have done the hurting, whether it was hurting to yourself or hurting to other people. Because the recognition that everyone suffers and everyone has the power to cause suffering, I find that that makes it easier for me to at least open up my heart to forgiveness and compassion. And when we can recognize that due to our own ignorance or pain or suffering, we do make hurtful mistakes in the very same ways that other people do. And so it's a kindness. It is a compassionate kindness that we offer to ourselves as well as to others to forgive them so that letting go of anger and letting go of blame, they can grow and evolve and we can grow and evolve. So anyone want to do this with me? Can I get a thumbs up or a heart or something if anyone wants to go through this process? I will share that with you. Hello, beautiful Gita Winter-Graugard. She's one of the authors in Time to Rise, and she teaches meditation as well, especially for children and parents. Lovely to have you here. So, and Sherry says, divine order. You check in this morning. So you've been having someone physically attack you in yoga class, or psychically attack, in yoga class nonetheless. You've been surrounding yourself with love so it doesn't knock you on your behind again, but needed to be reminded to pray for her. Thank you for the reminder. I hear you, Sherry. Isn't it interesting how some people, even on our spiritual path, can actually shoot like psychic darts in our back? I've had that experience, and it wasn't pleasant. After I got over the anger of it, yes, I did finally get to the point of recognizing that I just have to send love and light and compassion to that person so that they too will eventually wake up and realize that negativity, that anger, that evil looking behavior and energy is going to come back and get you. So thank you, Trevor, for the thumbs up. I wanted to share something with you that for me has been super, super helpful. And that is the forgiveness meditation. So I'm going to actually put it on the screen. Now, if you're driving, don't try to close your eyes and do this. Please be mindful of where you are and what you need to be doing so that I can, make sure that you're not going to hurt yourself. So instead of doing this game of trust thing, I'm going to take you to here. So by bringing into your mind some way that you have hurt other people, this forgiveness meditation invites us to recite these very simple phrases. So when you really bring to mind, and it could be something simple that you've done to hurt someone, or maybe you can actually think of something really mean, you simply get in touch with that feeling of regret for having hurt someone. And as the meditation goes, we say, there are many ways that I have hurt and harmed others, whether knowingly or unknowingly, out of my pain, fear, anger, and confusion. I have betrayed or abandoned them and caused them suffering. And then, to each person that you have ever harmed in your own mind, you repeat, I ask you for forgiveness. I ask you for forgiveness. It may seem really simple, but if you can really get in touch with it, I believe on a soul-to-soul level, they will hear it, they will feel it. You don't even have to say it to them in person. And then, as you get into this, you go deeper and you say, there are many ways that I have hurt and harmed myself, both knowingly and unknowingly. I have betrayed or abandoned myself many times through thought, word, or deed. For the many ways that I have hurt myself, through action or inaction, out of fear, pain, and confusion, I now extend full and heartfelt forgiveness. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. And then you're able to then direct this to the times when someone else has harmed you. Welcome to the party, Kate. We're digging into the forgiveness meditation, and at this final stage we say, there are many ways that I have been harmed by others, abused or abandoned, knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed. I now remember the many ways others have hurt and harmed me and wounded me out of their fear, pain, confusion, and anger. I have carried this pain in my heart too long. To the extent that I am ready, I offer them forgiveness. To those who have caused me harm, I offer you my forgiveness. I forgive you. I can tell you personally that the power of repeating this meditation and really getting in touch with the pain, sometimes it's anger, and directing that forgiveness at the soul of the other person, because on the ego level, you're still mad maybe. I can tell you that it has been transformational in my own life, and I've seen it with my clients. And it's not something that I take lightly. And while, Kate, hopefully you'll watch the replay, but if you're just joining, I started off this discussion by looking at the evolution of trust, which is an online simulation that shows that mathematically cheaters and mean people, they may get ahead based on certain conditions in the game. But if we look at the overall game of life, especially as spiritual beings, as individuals who want to be on a spiritual path, who believe that we are going through this life to maybe learn some lessons, clean up some old karma, and evolve, perhaps achieving enlightenment in this lifetime or many others, then looking at this idea of forgiveness is a timely thing to do, even in the midst of so much hatred and pain and ugliness. So I wonder what you guys feel. What do you think? What do you think of this idea? Hello, B. Lovely to see you. I'm glad that you've tuned in. You might have to watch the replay so you can get the gist of this. But I am really glad that we have this forum, being able to share live videos and answer questions and share insights along this journey of living our authentic life and really getting to real self-love. I feel like it is crucial to know that we're not alone, and to know that we can share even the dark times sometimes. Now, you know me, I'm always going to be sharing all the great stuff that you guys are up to. My clients, whether they're the publishing clients or my mentoring clients, that's part of my spiritual mission. So, Trevor, glad to know that you like this meditation. I know you already have a strong meditative practice, but it is important to forgive ourselves. And Shelley, I know that you're into this mindfulness thing as well, so I'm glad to know that it was good stuff for you. Because for me, I just want to wrap up by sharing a little bit about why I do what I do, because I had a couple of questions from some people who said they didn't understand how or why I was being so generous. And I guess if you've known me long enough, then you know that, I don't know, this is just where I am in the stage of my life that I'm in. Probably 20 years ago, I might have been a little more in my egoic phase of I got to get mine. But I have had the good pleasure of getting getting to a high level of what some would call success. And success can be defined in so many different ways. And if you look at sort of the worldly description of success from material possessions and that sort of stuff, it would be, I was checking all of those boxes. Like so many of us, I was driven to try to look for validation and approval and all of those success measures. And it wasn't fulfilling. I've had the big house, the big car, the expense account, being on TV, being slightly famous, and none of that fulfilled me to the level that my spiritual practice and being a spiritual teacher has done for me. And I haven't thrown everything out. I just did an interview today with Emily Williams, and she is the founder of I Heart My Life coaching and the I Heart My Life show. And I had been introduced to her work last year, and then I met her lovely husband, James, when we were in London at a mastermind. And I just told him that, oh gosh, I've got this opportunity for Emily. And I didn't want anything in return. Wasn't even looking for a shout out. It's just, I am here to connect people. If I know that you're on your path to whatever that is, whether it's launching a business, getting your book out, getting your first TED Talk, healing from past drama and trauma, getting free from depression and anxiety, these are the things that I have experience in, lots of experience in. And so if I see that someone is suffering or that they have an aspiration to go somewhere, if I have the ability, it is my impulse, my soul-driven impulse to help. And because I've had a high level of visibility in the media, I know that can do wonders for a person's career. The first time I was on Oprah, it skyrocketed my business. The second time I was on Oprah, it took me to a whole nother level. and then all these other shows. And so I'm not Oprah, but I will invite people onto my show and my platform because I want you to get the experience of what it feels like to be able to be your authentic self in a low stress environment. Because I tell you, the first time I was on Oprah, it was stressful. Even for me, my first TED Talk, super stressful. But it just, I'm just at that point. I want to give. I want to see other people shine. Now, I go a little bit into the spiritual land of woo. I can tell you that I also receive downloads, as we call them. I receive visions when I go into meditation. And these visions, from very early on in my life, have been the guiding force that have helped me through dark periods. They've helped me with an insight and understanding. And most recently, these visions have shaped the way I live my life and the way I conduct my business. And one of them that I don't think I've shared in full detail, one of these visions that I got was so overwhelming and huge that at first I wanted to say no. How many of you out there have ever heard a call onto your heroic journey and you wanted to refuse the call? Even where I am today, I do this multiple times. I try to refuse, and the divine is like, fool. Little joke from the beginning of this show, right? The divine is looking at me like, honey, you signed up for this. So all these dark times and trials and tribulations, this is part of the package. And one of the things that was shown to me was that I am here to impact 100 million people in the next 10 years. And again, at first I was like, what? I'm like, how am I going to do that? And then some of the aspects of it, which I'll save for another live discussion, one of them was really, I'll save that. But one of the aspects of reaching this 100 million people in the next 10 years, I realized that I needed help. And when I asked for that help, what I was shown was impacting more light workers, more healers, more mentors, more coaches, so that each of you who wants to can start to reach thousands and maybe tens or hundreds of thousands of people. That's the only way I'm going to get to that 100 million. Because, even if we were on the major TV shows and TV networks, they're not getting hundreds of millions, In America, you go on one TV show, like a morning show, Good Morning America, or like the Today Show that I've been on, you might get between 4 and 10 million viewers. But 4 to 10 million, I was shown that I got to hit 100 million. The only way that I can do that is by empowering other people and networking with other people to turn them on, to elevate their presence and their profile and their prestige and their ability to attract people to their own channels, their own networks, their own websites, their own email lists. Not for me. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to have the impact that my soul wants to have before I kick the bucket. And that is to eliminate the suffering on this planet for all beings. So I know that's a little bit crazy. And of course, I saved it to the end of this live, so I wouldn't even have to go there. But I understand that it can seem weird to people. They're like, well, why are you helping me? What are you getting out of this? What I'm getting out of this is me staying true to the divine who's giving me my marching orders. And I want to see you shine. I want to see you thrive. Because each of us are in different businesses. Like the beautiful Margareta. I remember meeting you for the first time, Margareta, and I was like, oh, you do hypnobirthing. Well, I'm not a hypnobirthing expert, but I did hypnobirthing for the birth of my daughter. So I'm like, hey, let me do an interview with you. Let me help support you in your business. Because I know for myself what my birth journey, how it was impacted. I had such a peaceful birth experience. And how many people out there, this is a little tangent, but how many people out there get in their mind the idea that it's got to be push and pull and strain and it's awful and what if you could have a beautiful birth experience? That's what Margareta said to me. And I said, yes, I want to partner with you on that. I don't get any money out of that. I just want to shine light on what she's doing, especially in Italia, so that more people could have that kind of experience. Why? Because if the mom and the dad have a beautiful birth experience and that baby comes into the world with this sense of compassion and love and not the stress hormones, then we're setting them up for a brighter future. And who knows what that little baby might go on to do. So I do believe, like you, Margareta, that the world would change if everyone would do this, if everyone were compassionate and tuning into that. And I love your idea. Would it be an idea to pick a day and a time to do this together, sending forgiveness to the world? You know, someone else has been asking that, whether we get together to do a compassion meditation or a forgiveness meditation. Of course, the lovely, one of our real self-love leaders, the lovely Helena Goldstein, she leads the Joy Keepers Network. And I will be leading, maybe that'll be my first thing. I don't know if it'll be compassion, but you tell me. Do you want me to lead the compassion meditation or the forgiveness meditation? Because Helena has invited me with her Joy Keepers Network to lead a meditation. Of course, I can do it here on Facebook Live as well. I'm happy to do that, to lead us through these meditations so that we can actually experience this together. For those of you that are curious about the Real Self-Love Movement, then I would ask that you please join the Real Self-Love Movement. It's totally free. You will see me highlighting, promoting, showcasing, and blasting out the Real Self-Love leaders who will be co-hosting masterclasses to help us all improve and evolve and ascend on our path and on our journey to real self-love. So visit realself.love so that you can download the manifesto, get some guided meditations, and then you'll get emails when we go live with masterclasses and that sort of stuff. So I would love it if you tune in there. And Linda, I see what you're saying about struggling with forgiving someone who hurt you to your core. I want you to just consider using that pain as your own healing process. That person, we're not asking you to forget what they did. You're not excusing their bad behavior, but it's allowing you to get past that pain. So maybe rewatch, or if you if you join the Real Self-Love Movement, another plug here, you can get the Real Self-Love, a whole host of resources. And so if you want to hear a guided audio meditation of the forgiveness meditation or compassion or any of them, there's a bunch of them. I have a bunch of the guided meditations in this book. So when you join the Real Self-Love Movement, then you can listen to them online or download them. Again, it's all totally free. So I think, I hope that you will do that, please. Yes, and so Margareta says, I love your woo. Well, I am the woo-woo queen. Karen says, so many opportunities to forgive. We have to remember to forgive ourselves as well. Absolutely. Yeah. And no, I'm not going to refuse the call. I am definitely stepping into owning my woo-woo-ness. And thank you, Jacqueline. She says, I have a good combo going on. A call. So you got a call as well, and you refused it in 2010, but all good now. Yeah. So I'm glad that you can relate. We've all had those moments, right? Hey, Zazie, glad that you're here and glad that you're up for tuning in to, impacting millions around the world. Thank you, Trevor, for the word of encouragement. 100 million, you got this. Yes. And we do need each other to raise awareness. This is what we really can do when you're in a spiritual community where I just know firsthand that there's more than enough on this planet for everyone. And I also know that there's nobody out there doing what I'm doing. Nobody's doing this weird hybrid of personal branding, mentoring, publishing in the way that I'm doing it. So I'm not a threat to anyone. And yes, I talk about real self-love, but so does everyone. Because really, at the core, you need real self-love for pretty much anything you're going to do, whether that's in business or in love or, what have you. So anyway, I'm glad that this is resonating with everyone. And love that what you're saying here, Linda. It's not crazy. You completely understand. It's not about what an individual can do. It's about what we can do collectively. Divine intervention is always present. And I'm so grateful for that. We have the divine on our side. Ooh, and Margareta, you're going to be in Alicante. So for those of you that would like to meet up with me and some of our real self-love leaders, I will be in Alicante, Spain, in less than 3 weeks, April 19th through the 21st. It's an event hosted by Steiner Ditlevson. He has created the European Transformational Teachers Gathering. And this network gets together in the south of Spain, where we spend a few days really in a just bubble of love and inspiration. I'll be teaching, and so will the lovely Solveig. Some of you have seen her. She's an author in Time to Rise. So yeah, if you want information, send me a message and I will share that with you. And Ashara says, it's so true. You only need to help one person to change the cycle and help others help others. Yay. And what's up to my brother Gerald? You love my continued selfless acts so that others can rise. Love you too, G. Thank you for the love. Yay. Can't wait for Alicante. So this is going to be great. We can get together for those of you that want to do that. And yes, Shelley, forgiveness creates the space for the universe to support your growth and abundance. Yes. Like when you get rid of all the pain and anger, how much more open are you to receive more abundance? So you'll be hearing from Shelley soon with her beautiful book about how you can surrender into that space. Linda, so glad that this has been helpful for you. Thank you all for tuning in and being here. I am really looking forward to continued connections with you. Sorry I've been a little silent with all of the travel. You know how it goes. You just got to roll with it. So for those of you that haven't already, please join the Real Self-Love Movement. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Real Self-Love Movement. So you can stay tuned in and turned on by the inspiration and the light and the love in this beautiful community. Because you know, that's what we are all about. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for sticking with me. It's been great to connect with you again. I do hope that you will continue to click around on the Facebook page. I also published a couple of blog posts with a podcast. I did a couple of podcast episodes where I'm not interviewing other people. It was me talking. I do admit I was in the car, and so the quality is a little different than usual. But these were some really important messages that I recorded spontaneously as it came, and I really wanted to share it with you. So be sure to check out those two recent links so you can listen in. They were pretty juicy. So I wish you all a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. Hopefully I will be with you again before I head back to America. Maybe I'll be on here on Friday. Normally that's what I would try to do, but we'll see. We will see. In the meantime, I wish you continued success on your journey. May you experience true happiness and the causes of happiness. May you be truly well in body, mind, and heart. And may you be free from suffering. Until next time, remember that you are a gift to the world, so share your presence with passion. Much love. Bye.